She was a young woman adrift.
Her parents had split up.
She was getting involved with the wrong crowd.
Until she met a pastor and his wife.
She looked up to them.
The way that he spoke, it was really captivating.
I want to ask everyone to bow your heads this day, and I want you to consider in your heart, am I ready to meet God?
They became her surrogate family.
She was accepted and loved.
Then she disappeared.
No one had spoken to her in weeks.
Something just didn't seem right.
There was some blood in the house.
We were dealing with a homicide.
This was almost the perfect murder.
Until the search for answers reveals the scandalous secret behind it all.
This will get very complicated.
I don't think anyone would have suspected.
This isn't stuff you see in normal everyday life.
It's something that's been ingrained and embedded in her.
For lack of a better term, he recruited her.
Fine.
October 5th, 2003. It's another sunny day in San Diego, California's southernmost city.
San Diego's a beautiful city, full of sunshine, pretty much 12 months around.
It's world-renowned for its pristine beaches.
We have access to the ocean, the desert, the mountains, all within an hour and a half away.
But even in the most idyllic places, things can go wrong.
Excuse me, how to report someone that's missing?
Kimberly is friends with Joy Risker, and she hasn't heard from her in a couple of weeks.
When's the last time you've been in contact with this person?
Well, she sent me this strange email.
The email that Kimberly received said that Joy was going to do some traveling for a while. But it wasn't like Joy to take off like that.
According to Kimberly, that wasn't the only thing about the email that seemed off.
Kimberly claims that the tone of the email really didn't sound like the Joy that she knew.
Joy had written that she was feeling very dissatisfied with her lifestyle.
She said she just wanted to take some alone time.
Okay, and this didn't seem right to you?
Absolutely not.
She's a mom. She absolutely adored her little boys.
She would never leave without taking her kids with her.
Something's wrong, I know it.
25-year-old Joy Risker could light up a room.
Joy was an amazing young woman, great personality, very outgoing, effervescent.
People wanted to interact with her. Her smile was magnetic. She was sincere. She was authentic.
But she'd known some dark times in her young life.
Her parents divorced when she was young.
And the divorce was especially tough on Joy.
Joy's mother was dismayed to see that her teenage daughter started to get involved with a very rebellious crowd.
She was partying, hanging out all night.
Hoping to set Joy straight, her mother encouraged her daughter to get more involved in their church.
If she could get Joy into church, she would be surrounded by the right kinds of people.
People like the church's popular youth pastor, 26-year-old Sean Goff.
It is absolutely wonderful to have you all here tonight at Bible study.
John was this charismatic person. The way that he spoke to the congregation was really captivating.
Regardless of your church membership, regardless of your record for giving, regardless of your family situation, or your socioeconomic level, God still desires to have a relationship with you.
He was known to be an all-around good guy. Nice, kind, charismatic, trustworthy.
Sean was maybe a fatherly presence, something that she had been missing. She felt like she finally found a place where she was accepted and loved.
Over time, Joy became close to both the youth pastor and his wife, Teresa.
the couple really became Joy's sort of found family.
She started spending more and more time with the couple.
She enjoyed her time with Sean and Teresa, so much so that at a certain point, she moved in with them and decided to be a nanny for Teresa's baby.
Joy also worked in the church office as Sean's personal assistant.
It sounded like almost a perfect situation of like one step out of the house to be able to build her own independent life.
Joy, now 18, was blossoming into a beautiful young woman.
Shortly after moving in with the Goffs, Joy told her family and friends that she started dating a traveling pastor.
Hey, what's got you smiling so big? It's just Isaiah. He asked for my number last time he was here, and we've been talking ever since.
This pastor often preached at Sean's church, and they fell in love.
Soon, Joy was telling everyone they were engaged.
Shortly after announcing their engagement in 2000, Joy welcomed their first son.
And 2 years later, she gave birth to another little boy.
Her friends are excited and happy for her. She's got these 2 kids, she's in love.
But now Joy has left her 2 kids behind and supposedly gone off for a little me time.
At least, that's what she said in an email that several friends received.
Her friends did feel like this was odd, but when they kind of pushed back and wanted to know more, she just kind of said, hey, I would rather be left alone.
You think something happened to her?
Yes.
Because her friend says Joy has been considering getting away from someone.
Only it wasn't her kids.
According to her friend, Joy had been considering leaving the father of her children.
Okay, who's the father?
Well, that's the weird part.
Joy had told people that the father of her kids was a traveling pastor who sometimes preached at her friend Sean Goff's church.
But actually, the father of her children was Sean.
25-year-old Joy Risker had spent the last 7 years living with Pastor Sean Goff and his wife, Teresa.
Joy moved in with Sean at the age of 18.
She was going to help take care of the couple's newborn baby.
Over the next 7 years, Joy had 2 children of her own.
She told family and friends that the father was a traveling pastor who regularly preached at Sean's church.
But according to her friend Kimberly, Joy has been living a lie.
She shared with the police that Joy was not, in fact, involved with the traveling pastor.
Sean was actually the father of her 2 little boys.
And they're having an affair?
Not exactly.
Sean, Teresa, and Joy were engaged in a polygamous relationship.
He's married to the both of them.
Okay.
Sean Goff used his position as the youth pastor to work his way into her life.
You know I love you, right?
I don't think anyone would have suspected that she was being groomed by this charismatic youth pastor.
Least of all, Joy.
Joy was young, she was naive.
She agreed to marry him, and they then ended up living together with Sean Goff's first wife and had 2 children with him.
And she told her friends and family that the father was someone else.
They believed her because she was a trustworthy person.
And they had no reason to suspect the pastor and his wife.
They're just decent folks living next door.
I suspect that Sean didn't want the public to know, and she didn't want anyone to judge her, I imagine.
But according to her friend Kimberly, Joy had recently told her the truth.
She's beginning to realize that this is not all of what she thought it was going to be.
She just wasn't in love with Sean the way she used to be.
She had hopes of going to school, having a career, and he didn't really support her dreams.
But Joy was working to earn enough money so that she could split away from Sean and take her kids with her.
Which is what made her friends suspicious about Joy's sudden disappearance.
Joy seemed really confident about the future and putting her plans into play.
Leaving without the kids was never part of the plan.
Something just didn't seem right.
Kimberly says she was so concerned that she'd called Sean.
She said that Sean had informed her that he too had gotten emails from her.
And Sean had essentially given Kimberly the same exact story that she had received from Joy's email.
She said that she'd left and wanted to do some traveling and just kind of figure out what she wanted to do with her life.
It was after talking to Sean that Kimberly decided to contact the police.
I just want to make sure she's okay.
After Joy's friend files the missing persons report, detectives pay a visit to the home of Sean and Teresa Goff.
It was essentially a welfare check to see what the Goffs knew about Joy's sudden disappearance.
Sean is more than willing to talk to them, and very matter-of-fact about his relationship with both women.
You can see how that raises some concerns.
Certainly.
He's very much aware that multiple marriages are not legal in the United States.
But he expresses how a lot of the ancient patriarchs from the Bible also had multiple wives. And even though it was illegal, he felt that, biblically speaking, he was within his rights to do that.
And Teresa, she's all right with that?
Well,
he says that Teresa was reluctant at first.
But Sean convinced her that this was the right thing.
Over time, she came to understand that Sean's love for Joy called him to marry her as well.
And Teresa's understanding only grew once Joy gave birth to Sean's children.
He says the 6 of them all became one happy family.
So what happened?
well, it all started when Joy's mother died.
As a result, he says that she fell into a deep depression.
He said she tried to hold it together for the sake of the children.
But she was growing increasingly unhappy, and he knew she was thinking about leaving him.
I just never thought she'd do it like this.
She had run off and left him with her 2 kids.
But he says that isn't the most surprising part.
According to Sean, she had left to go be with an ex-boyfriend.
Questioned by detectives about the disappearance of his wife, Joy Risker, Pastor Sean Goff says the 25-year-old mother of 2 has left town to reunite with a former boyfriend.
I still can't believe she left like that.
This man was very distraught about losing his wife.
And he was completely shocked when he learned that she was leaving to go back to an ex-boyfriend.
His name is Joel Hoffman.
Apparently, he lives in Boston.
But according to the email Sean received, they were leaving for Europe soon.
And she told me she needed some time to think.
She told you this?
Yes, over the phone.
Sean says that they've talked a few times since then and that she seems happy.
Can we see the email?
But Sean admits that he's not happy about the situation.
She had run off and left him with her 2 kids, and he was now exploring hiring an attorney.
But he's hoping that they'll figure out what would be the best for him, her, and their boys.
Is your wife home? Your other wife?
Oh, yeah, she's upstairs with the boys. I'll go get her.
When the detectives follow up with Sean's wife, Teresa, she backs up the pastor's account.
She did know that there was some trouble within the marriage.
It was no secret that Joy wasn't happy.
She accepted that she wanted out of this relationship.
Can you tell us about your relationship?
Well, I guess it is a little unusual.
I found her to be very open, very frank. She explained to me the nature of their relationship and gave me excellent background information.
She told detectives that she was only 15 years old when she met Sean at a church. They got married when she was only 17.
It sounded a lot like how Sean and Joy met.
How do you feel about Sean and Joy?
Well, I didn't like the idea at first, but I couldn't go against Sean.
Teresa says that she has a very strong faith in God and respects the man as the head of the household.
Because she trusted Sean, she eventually was more open to having Joy join the relationship.
Teresa also says that she came to love having Joy in the family.
She's like a sister to me.
They got along very well.
But Teresa admitted that she was a little surprised at how Joy just up and left.
Have you talked to Joy since she left?
No, but Sean has.
Teresa says that according to Sean, Joy is happy and she's doing well.
Sean and Teresa's story appears to explain Joy's sudden absence.
We don't really have a missing person here. We have a woman that's abandoned the children.
Hoping to settle the matter once and for all, the detectives reach out to Joel Hoffman, the man Joy had supposedly gone off to see.
Hello?
He said, yes, I know Joy Risker.
Yeah?
He was in a relationship with Joy in their teens.
And have you heard from her lately?
Yeah?
He said, yes, I've had an email exchange with her 5-6 months ago.
And did she come out to Boston to see you?
No, I haven't seen her in forever.
He said that he maybe had spoke to her a couple months before to kind of catch up, but he had not seen her.
And according to Joel, they had no plans to run off traveling together.
He said, I don't know anything about going to Europe. I have never discussed it with her, and I haven't seen her in years.
He was utterly confused by what the police were asking him.
What's going on? Is there something wrong?
Well, she's disappeared, and we heard she might have gone to see you.
Seriously?
He had no idea that she was missing, that she was gone.
At least, that's what Joel claimed.
The conversation only leaves detectives with unanswered questions.
Someone is lying. Now, the question is, who?
Had Joy actually gone to Boston to see Joel?
Maybe something bad had happened between them.
Maybe Sean was lying about the whole trip to Boston.
Or was it Joy who lied to Sean?
Joy really wanted to get away from the relationship.
Maybe Joy used the whole trip as a cover story just so she could break from Sean.
Looking for answers, investigators subpoena Joy's phone records.
And that's where they got their first hint that something was seriously wrong.
The last calls that were made or received on that phone were on September the 19th.
That was almost 2 weeks before Joy was reported as a missing person.
And the timing of the calls isn't the only thing that raises suspicion.
That last call that was made on September 19th was made to Sean.
Detectives investigating Joy Risker's disappearance have just learned that her last phone call was on September 19th, 2 weeks before a friend reported her missing.
The call log indicates that the last call Joy made was September 19th.
And that call was made to Sean Goff.
Sean's the man she's been in a polygamous relationship with for the last 6 years.
And it was very suspicious, and things were not adding up.
That afternoon, the detectives asked Sean to come in and answer a few more questions.
He was very calm and collected.
Sean admits, yes, September 19th was the last time he talked to Joy on the phone.
He had called her to arrange a special date night for the two of them.
That was basically his last-ditch effort to try and work through some of the problems that were plaguing their relationship.
I wanted it to be perfect.
Thank you.
He had asked Teresa to take the kids and go out of town.
I'm glad we finally get some alone time together.
Sean made a romantic dinner in his attempts to really mend and repair the relationship with Joy.
But according to Sean, Joy had other plans.
Sean says that during that dinner, Joy actually expressed a desire to move to LA. She says she wanted to rent a condo and attend makeup school.
What do you think?
Joy, I don't know.
Financially, there was tensions on renting a condo.
His alternative was to encourage her to stay with a friend that lived in LA, but Joy was not having that.
Why is it always what you want?
They couldn't come to an amicable agreement, and so they decided to sleep on it.
Fine.
But Sean says that conversation never happened.
A few hours after going to bed, Sean says that he heard a noise outside of their bedroom window. And he looked out and saw Joy putting 2 suitcases in the back of an SUV.
Any idea who was driving?
No.
He says he didn't recognize the vehicle.
He did not get a license plate.
And after Joy loaded her luggage in the back, she got into the passenger side and the SUV drove off.
According to Sean, that was the last time he saw Joy.
And his last contact with her was the email that she sent soon thereafter.
Sean's new story would explain Joy's disappearance, if it's true.
The police felt suspicious of Sean.
Sending Teresa and the kids away, the mysterious SUV in the middle of the night, the whole thing seemed fishy.
But it's hardly concrete evidence that Sean had something to do with Joy's disappearance.
All the detectives really have is a hunch.
But by this point, word of Joy's disappearance has started to spread.
And it wasn't long after this that detectives received a phone call from an old friend of Sean's.
His name is Leif Wright.
Leif says he's known Sean for a long time.
This friend described Sean as being incredibly arrogant and incredibly controlling. One of the examples was that he had begun to write a self-help book entitled, "If I Can Satisfy 2 Women, Why Can't You Please One?"
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's Sean.
Leif felt that Sean had some rather antiquated views about women. Sean felt that women couldn't survive without the leadership of men.
And because of this mindset, he says that Sean tended to have relationships with very young women.
They would be more receptive to his exertion of power.
Women like Joy and Teresa.
Sean met both Teresa and Joy when they were underage.
And they were both still teenagers when he wedded them.
It was classic grooming behavior.
He used the Bible to control and manipulate these women into thinking that this was God's way.
Told him it was going to get him in trouble.
But Sean says that he wasn't in the wrong.
But according to Leif, Sean did eventually run into trouble with Joy.
Leif said that recently Sean had started to complain about Joy.
He said she was being difficult.
She wanted to get out of the house, have some freedom.
Her attitude was poor, according to him. And the way he described it, she either needed to shape up or she was going to be shipped out.
He said that he was thinking about getting rid of her.
What did he mean by get rid of her?
I'm not sure.
It was a compelling statement, but it is a long way from proof that Sean actually did something to Joy.
Instead, the proof comes from a surprising source.
On October 21st, Sean walked into the San Diego Police Department and asked to speak to detectives.
The detectives pulled Sean into an interrogation room.
Did you have a seat there, Sean?
Then once the detectives read Sean his rights, he then told them why he was there.
I came down here to turn myself in.
Okay.
Because I killed Joy Risker.
Two weeks into their investigation of Joy Risker's disappearance, her husband, Sean Goff, walks into the San Diego Police Department and surprises the detectives.
There's a few things I'd like to say.
He tells the police, I came to turn myself in. I killed Joy.
All right, and there's a location evidently where her body is?
I'm not sure if I should answer that question at this time.
He's evasive, but he's admitted that she is dead and that he killed her.
And according to Sean, it's been weighing on him.
He looked tired, he'd lost a lot of weight.
And as he put it, being a man of God, he finally thought that this is the right thing to do.
How did all this go bad? What happened on all this?
I don't know. I obviously don't know. I mean, well, Joy and I were incompatible. We were, we've been talking about splitting up.
When investigators press for details about Joy's death, Sean hesitates.
I don't want to get myself into, I don't know.
Well, let me put it to you this way, Sean. I mean, you come down and you turned yourself in for murder.
Right.
So, I mean...
For killing someone.
Right.
He was careful to use the word killed and not murdered.
I think he was guarding what he wanted to say in preparation of what kind of defense he was later going to run.
Then, 10 minutes into the interview, Sean shuts things down completely.
I think I'd rather talk to the attorney.
The detectives tried to press Sean in hopes that he would reveal the location of Joy's body.
So you want to leave her out there? That's fine. Whatever you want to do. I mean, she was your...
I know.
I mean, if that's the way you want to leave it.
I think that would be wise.
And the interview was stopped at that point.
But Sean wasn't free to go.
Sean's semi-confession is enough for them to take him into custody while they continue their investigation.
But before they can even consider charging him with murder, they're going to need a lot more evidence.
In order to prove murder, you have to prove that there was a killing of another with malice aforethought without self-defense.
So with Sean in custody, the detectives bring his first wife, Teresa, in for another interview.
I was a little suspicious. I mean, we have a woman that's conveniently out of town. She's got the kids. Does she know what was going on?
At first, Teresa's story mirrors what she and Sean previously told the detectives.
She'd taken the kids to Santa Barbara to allow Sean and Joy some time alone.
And Sean called me the next day and said that Joy was gone, that she left.
He had told her that they had gotten into a fight and that Joy had decided she was going to leave.
However, this time, Teresa says that isn't all that Sean had told her.
He says that during their argument, Joy cut herself.
They say how?
Well, he said that she had done it.
He had told her that she had wanted to hurt herself and that he had had to stop her.
He says that he needed to take Joy to the hospital and then afterwards take her to wherever she was going to be staying.
He'd also asked Teresa to do him a favor.
Sean said, there's going to be blood in the house, so I need you to clean it up when you get home.
Teresa, always the dutiful wife, had done as she'd been told.
She did find some blood in Joy's room and in the bath, so she cleaned it up.
And Sean didn't come home till the next day.
When he did, his SUV was filthy.
There was dirt all over it, inside it, too.
According to Teresa, Sean was just as dirty.
He said that he had gone up to Big Bear and built a pyramid.
Pyramid?
That's what he said.
She thought that was odd, but again, She had no reason to suspect that Joy was harmed at this point.
However, she does admit that Sean wasn't himself for the next several weeks.
He would stay in bed all day and ask her to pray for him.
Teresa felt like maybe he was mourning the relationship.
By the end of the interview, the detectives are convinced that Teresa had no idea that Joy was dead.
She'd been married to this man since she was only a teenager. She was groomed. So I'm not surprised that she asked no questions.
And when investigators finally tell Teresa that Sean admitted to killing Joy, she reacts with genuine emotion.
Sean said that?
Yes.
No, that's impossible.
She described her relationship with Joy with tears in her eyes.
So Teresa gives detectives permission to search the home she and Joy shared with Sean.
We were able to locate blood in one of the bedrooms and some blood in the main bathroom. At that point, I called our crime lab.
A search of the house with luminol revealed there was blood.
When you spray luminol on a surface, the blood fluoresces, and there was blood everywhere.
We found blood in various parts of the house, consistent with some kind of struggle, and then in the bathroom, it appeared that's where the fight ended.
The entire bathroom lit up like a Christmas tree.
And when detectives return to the station to search Sean's computer, it's clear he sent the emails allegedly from Joy.
Sean had had access to her emails. He was posing as Joy to throw people off course.
The search history on his computer was equally damning.
How to get away with murder, how to commit a perfect murder, how to dispose of a body.
At that point, we were dealing with a homicide, and this was very much pre-planned.
But the detectives are no closer to finding Joy's body.
Sean originally told Teresa that he went to Big Bear Lake to build this pyramid. So the police went to Big Bear Lake and were unable to find a pyramid.
Because the detectives were looking in the wrong state. It's New Year's Eve, 2003, almost 4 months after Joy disappeared, and two men are hiking through the hills west of Phoenix, Arizona.
They came across what looked like a mound of rocks.
Looks like a pyramid.
They could smell the undeniable stench of death.
But it was also a tomb.
On New Year's Eve, 2003, 4 months after Joy Risker disappeared, a couple of hikers have made a gruesome discovery in the hills west of Phoenix, Arizona.
They stumbled across a bunch of rocks that were piled up like some sort of pyramid.
And they noticed a very foul odor coming from that.
So they alerted the authorities. And when the authorities arrived, they found the badly decomposed body of a woman.
Charlie 23. I've got human remains out here.
There was some hair that was remaining. The bones around the face had all been crushed.
She was obliterated beyond all recognition.
The remains are taken to the Maricopa County Medical Examiner's office, where the autopsy reveals just how violent her death was.
They found 7 stab wounds to the sternum area. There were another 5 stab wounds higher in the chest.
There was an effort to obscure her identity.
Her face had been crushed, so she couldn't be recognizable.
All of the fingertips had been cut off, and the teeth had all been cut out.
But despite the killer's efforts, the medical examiner is able to identify the remains.
They were able to extract DNA from some of the bones.
It was entered into the CODIS database, and we got a hit.
The DNA is a match for 25-year-old Joy Risker.
We now had her body and knew a little bit more about what had happened to her.
It's more than enough to charge Sean with murder.
Once we had her body, that confirmed everything we knew. We sent it over to the district attorney's office. They concurred and they filed murder charges.
And the story made headlines.
The polygamy aspect of this case is very sensational. Both Teresa and Joy were very young women. They were sucked in by a religious man who used his power and influence to convince them that the way they were living was the right thing to do.
When Sean goes on trial in June of 2006, Sean's long-term control over the two women is a key component of the case.
Sean groomed these women, and the prosecutors believe that Joy no longer wanted to be with him and wanted to leave him and take her two children. And he was willing to murder this woman instead of just letting her go.
According to the prosecutors, there's little doubt the crime was premeditated.
Sean set up for Teresa to take all three kids out of town to ensure that no one was in the house.
Joy.
I don't know why you sent them away. Doesn't change anything.
I just thought we could try one last time.
I'm done trying.
Well, that's too bad.
According to prosecutors, Sean fatally stabbed Joy.
He did it a minimum of 16 times in different places of the body.
If he couldn't have her, then no one could.
Then he dragged her body into the bathroom.
He sawed out her teeth and her fingertips in an effort to obscure her identity. Then he drove 400 miles to Arizona and hid her body under a pile of rocks.
When it's the defense's turn, they put Sean on the stand.
Sean said after he and Joy had their romantic dinner, they had gotten into an argument.
Don't walk away from me!
Joy, just let it go!
And that it was Joy who initiated the fight and pulled the knife out.
He, in an effort to try and keep her from stabbing him, grabbed the knife and accidentally stabbed her. And then he panicked because he thought that the police wouldn't believe his self-defense story.
And he decided to cover the whole thing up.
Will Sean's latest story be enough to sway the jury?
They find Sean guilty of murder.
The evidence in this case was overwhelming. Couple that with Sean's lies, there was just no way around it.
He is sentenced to 26 years to life in prison with possibility of parole.
I'm hopeful that his parole will be denied. I think his track record of dishonesty and violence is such that he would be a dangerous person to let out.
A lack of remorse, a lack of guilt, lack of regret, feeling untouchable. It speaks to that narcissistic trait, this need for recognition and admiration from the people he mentored when he was merely manipulating them.
Here was a young woman just looking for something to fill a void in her life.